All right. What's going on, Facebook? What's going on? Come on in, y'all. Come on in. Give y'all a little time to come in. Just to give y'all little updates about the advanced reader campaign that's going to be launching off on December 1st, which is going to be the launching of my book, The Unspoken Truth and Life Story. Yeah, I want y'all to come on in. I don't want y'all to miss, the live action right here. Come on in, everybody. I appreciate it. Y'all come in, y'all let me know y'all here. Drop something in the chat, whether it be fire, drop 100% in the chat, however y'all want to do it. Feel free. I'm gonna be sure to try to, acknowledge everybody, you know. So yeah. All right, all right. Let me see y'all here. Let me know y'all here. Put a thumbs up. Let me see a thumbs up. Or let me see some fire in the chat. I'm just like I said, I ain't gonna be before y'all long. It's only gonna be about, like 10, 15 minutes just to share some things, about December 1st, about the advanced reader launch. It's gonna be very impactful. Um, indeed. So, um, okay. Angel Brandy, I see y'all. Uh-huh. All right, all right. All right, y'all comments gonna be coming up here in a second. As soon as I see them, I'm gonna start throwing them up there on the screen. I appreciate it. All right. Angel, see all of y'all. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna get started. You know what I mean? So thank all of you, for coming out, for being a good support to me. As you know, everybody, you know that my book is coming out on Kindle. It's going to come out on Kindle. The digital version is coming out on Kindle. The Advanced Reader campaign starts on December 1st. So what I'm going to be doing is on December 1st, I'm going to be dropping a link. It's going to be a link in the bio. I'm going to be posting in different places, whereas you can go into it. So what's going to happen is you're going to go in there. You're going to just, fill out like your name and like your email, and then it's going to take you straight to Kindle to purchase the book, the digital book. The digital book is going to be $1.99. So it's going to give you more than enough time to, take time and read it. The actual physical book again is not coming out until January 16th, but you're gonna get a head start, on everything. So then you will have a chance to drop a review. I'm gonna be keeping, everybody posted, especially the launch team. You guys, like I said, everybody has been a great support, to me. I really appreciate that. Um, the other thing is, again, I know that with a lot of these chapters, and I'm gonna go over some of them tonight. A lot of these chapters are going to be like, they're going to be really relatable, to everybody in this world because like I said, even though we all got like different types of stories, we can still relate to a lot of some of the struggles or some of the ups, some of the downs that everybody's been through. So my thing is, again, it's about reaching people from all areas of life. It's going to be universal, and again, it's not just going to start and end with my biography. There's other books that's going to come behind it. So again, like I said, like it's going to be, like I said, it's going to be, it gets, it's just a lot of like good things in there, but then it's a lot of sad things. But again, there's life's ups and downs in life, so we are going to be able to relate to it. Especially like one of the toughest. Somebody had mentioned in the last um the last live that I did. Somebody had asked me um about like what was the toughest chapter to write. And the toughest chapter, and I'm gonna give y'all a little insight because I don't want to give y'all too much. I want y'all to read the book. The toughest chapter that I had to write in the book was about friends. About sometimes, and this goes out again. It goes out to a lot of people that you're running in the streets. You think you got so-called friends in the streets that got your back. That, oh, if you get locked up, they're going to bail you out and things like that. It's sad to say, but that doesn't exist. When you decide to, act the way you act in the streets and you want to just be, misbehaving the way you want to misbehave, and then which wind up landing you in certain predicaments, such as like prison, jail, wherever, the main people you're going to be running to are going to be probably mommy and daddy if you have them, or a close relative, probably like, grandmom or aunt or somebody that raised you. None of your friends are going to be there, and in fact, not even that. So there's a chapter again where the very same friends that you thought was your friends, or I thought those were my friends, was the very same friends that was pointing the finger at me. You know what I'm saying? So it's a lot. Like I said, when I say this book goes into detail, it goes into detail with after Davis. It goes into detail with statement. It goes so deep, but it just shows that sometimes you got to be careful of who you run with. Not even be careful who you run with, but again, it's a common saying that says that bad company corrupts good morals. So we got to watch who we surround ourselves with. Like I said, that's just a brief synopsis of certain things I'm going to be touching on in there. But how many of us can say that we have, loved ones, that are incarcerated? We have loved ones that um, we want to do well. We want to see succeed, when they come out here. There's some people that's in there right now, that probably are not even caring about how their life is going to turn out when they get out. You gotta remember, a lot of people do go to prison, because a lot of people can't get their stuff straight. They're not able to survive out here in the world. There's lifers and stuff like that I've had encounter with inside that said, look, I don't have nobody on the outside. I don't know how to survive. And if you don't know how to survive in the world, that's dangerous. Because the reason why I say that is because even though I had a setback in life, for many years. Like it wasn't just a couple months. I spent a lot of years in prison. But what I'm saying is, but even to bounce back, and for real, I can't even say it was a bounce back because I left for a world in which, I really didn't know nothing of. So me returning, it's like I was birthed into the world again. I was a kid again mentally. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, Dad, only thing I remember out here, again, I always say every time was 15. So to take the time to plan that foundation, if we don't take the time to plan that foundation, um, you're going to find yourself back in the same predicament. You know what I'm saying? If you like to, leech off of people, and this is going for the people, the men. This is going for the men that, we claiming to be about our stuff. Oh, we got everything together, but in reality, if you leeching off a woman, if try and be controlling or beating a woman or this, that, and the third, that don't make you no man. You know what I'm saying? If you need, everybody needs support. Don't get it twisted. I'm not saying that because we all need somebody. Everybody's going to need somebody. But the thing is with it is you have to know how to make your own route. You have to know how to make your own path. So again, I won't go deep into that, but again, a lot with the book. The book is going to be touching on certain things and how, things that I went through, things that I walked through, leading up to me, like I said, transitioning. And a lot of the transitioning doesn't come into play until the next book, but it gives a brief synopsis of a lot of things and some of the steps that I've taken. But again, some people was asking me, hey, is this book about is it about music, you learning music and stuff like that? I said, no, I mean, part of it probably is because I did learn the gift of music while being incarcerated, but that wasn't my ultimate plan, or that wasn't the ultimate destination in my life. My belief, that it is greater things, which is being, unveiled right now. Like it's being unveiled through the book. It's being unveiled through, me speaking and me reaching, at-risk youth, and me reaching people that's returned to society, and me reaching people that have been living on the earth, but still needs that push and that guidance. How many people or backgrounds where we weren't taught certain things. We weren't taught certain things because people that were probably, and not saying people, but or elders and family may not have been educated in a certain way. So how can they teach you something that they don't know? So that's why I encourage a lot of you parents. You have to teach your kids something you learned late. You have to teach them early. You have to teach them, don't get on that phone, that tablet. Y'all just give them tablets to pacify them. And that's not a good thing. I mean, I thank God, that I grew up, 80s, 90s, because, that's when life was, it was still regular in a way. Nowadays, you can't, everything, I mean, technology is good, but when it comes to, okay, y'all texting every day, you in the same car, you texting the same person in the car. This stuff is not making any sense. Like, so it's really cheating a lot of people out of education, even though YouTube can show you a lot of things, but a lot of people are not, even grasping the reading, writing, and arithmetics. You using spell grammarly and you're using these different things. So long story short, again, it's just different things like I said that we're going to be touching on like in this book. A lot of people ask me, I know there was question concerns. I'm going to be asking y'all what your questions are. I was trying to get it to come up here. It didn't come up yet. I was going to show y'all something on here, which is pretty decent. It's actually concerning this back cover page here. A lot of people was asking me, they were saying like, "Yo," they said, "Yo, who's this person?" They're saying, "Who's the judge?" Like the judge, a couple of people on the back. So the people on the back, actually, but Honorable Judge Benjamin Lerner, he's actually my actual sentencing judge. I mean, when I'm telling you, like, it's a blessing for him to even say, "Look, I'm gonna do an insert in your book because I'm extremely proud of what you accomplished and the things that you've done." Was like it was like really like an honor for him to even do that. That's why I was like, and that's unheard of. It's unheard of when the actual judge that sentenced you, the actual judge that I pleaded guilty in front of, not only did he write an insert in my book, but he also wrote a letter of when I went to see the parole board back in 2016. He wrote a letter on my behalf. So it's certain things. Since people have always said, Keenan, I see things that's inside of you. There's some great things inside of you. You're a very powerful person. And sometimes I didn't understand like what did they see in me that they didn't see in other people. But again, it was, the determination. It was the mindset. It was, boxing, the negativities of the world out. We can't live our life, you know what I'm saying, based on the opinions of others. We can't live our life based on how somebody's going to look at us or judge us. You know what I'm saying? Or what we're wearing. Are they going to think this? They're going to think that. I'm the first to tell you, anybody that know me, I'm going to help you elevate and get to the next level, period. Whether it be financially, whether it be credit wise, whether it be, mentally, spiritual, whatever the case may be, I'm going to try to elevate you. I mean, I may joke around sometime here and there, this and the third, but for the most part, everybody know that I'm really sincere. So speaking back to this book, on this back cover, like I said, I got the Honorable Judge Lerner, which you can read clearly. Like he's a very powerful insert here in the city of Philadelphia. Like I said, with the people that he's connected with, he retired out of the mayor's cabin, so it's a lot. Like I said, you're going to read a lot about it in the book. You have Mr. Hildebrand Pelzer here at the bottom, great educator, influencer throughout the world. He's great here in the city of Philadelphia. He was a principal at Pennypack House School. I touched on the last live. And he's did a lot of very influential things, in my life. Like I said, that's in the book as well. You have Mr. Dr. Grabar. He was actually a prison chaplain back there in Albion. This was when I was all the way out Albion, all the way up Lake Erie. That was a ruthless camp right there. People was getting their heads smashed in left and right up there. Cracking their head locked. It was a lot of stuff, but I'm not here to share everything about that. But I will say that, through those experiences, there's been impacts been left on both sides. Not just, me leaving an impact on people, but people left impacts on me. That's why sometimes you got to always be careful how you treat people. No, all the time. You gotta know, be careful the way you treat people. That's gonna be very crucial because if you don't, I'm telling you, it's just gonna be, hold on, give me a second. I'm trying to get your comments, but I can't see anything. Yeah, so yeah, absolutely. I'm touching on right now with Bishop Terry, Pastor Terry Champion. She was saying, yeah, get the copy. Yeah, I'm gonna be doing that. We're gonna be, like I said, the Kindle copy is coming out. It's going to be coming out on December 1st. So it's going to be a digital copy. But then the physical copy is going to be coming. But yeah, I did tell you, yeah, I am going to become speaking to the prison down there, down in Florida. It's a few others that was inviting me, down in Georgia, Jersey, here in Pennsylvania. So it's different places I'm going to be going. So it's going to be like a big tour. So I definitely going to be keeping you posted. Be keeping you posted, as far as with how to select the books. Again, it's going to be programs coming behind it. It's going to be a lot of things, So, um, yeah, so yeah, like I said, I won't keep y'all long. I know it's been like 15 minutes already, but I was just sharing some little things, some little insights. Like I said, I'm excited. Like I got some things, in here. Like I said, it's very powerful. I'm talking about, I'll name some of the chapters, about growing up, alone in the house after my mother passed. That goes deep. My mother passed from cancer. You guys. Then I got even how everything went down, even to when I went to prison, how the whole crime, how everything unfolded. From point A to point D, who planned it, what, who shot who, where we ran, this everything is just here. Got my lawyers to my arrest, to who ran it on who. Again, that's the friends. This the friends we talking about. It's the friends, Yeah, yeah. A lot of people think, you got friends. Well, you better double check, who you running with. That it gets deep. It gets deep in this book. I have different things, culture shocks, different things about the schooling, the accomplishments, things of that nature. So this is going to be very well universal. You're going to be able to be relatable to everybody. So yeah, Angel, like you said, to give respect, you got to give respect. Absolutely. Um, yeah, I'm trying to get this. Oh man, I don't see where it's not coming up for some reason. But yeah, absolutely. Um, yeah, I appreciate. Yeah, so go ahead. If y'all got some questions in here, y'all go ahead and drop y'all questions. I'll be sure to answer a couple. I'm trying to get them up on the screen, but for some reason they're not coming up. So it's all right. But just go ahead, just ask away. I'm looking on here. Hey, Miss Cat, how you doing? I see y'all up in here. All right. Any questions? Y'all got any questions about the book? Any updates? Anything? Just go ahead. Yeah, I'm gonna give you a copy, Miss Terry. Don't worry, Pastor Terry. Don't worry, it's going down. Like I say, the Kindle, we gotta go get that Kindle. I'm gonna be dropping a link on December 1st. I'm gonna be dropping a link. I may go live tomorrow night as well. I'm gonna be dropping a link in Kindle. You got to go in there. It's going to tell you, you might enter your little email address or whatever, but just to keep you posted with everything else that's going to be going on. But it's going to lead you straight to the Amazon link, whereas you could purchase Kindle. The book is only $1.99, y'all. $1.99. It's going to be in the Kindle for the digital version. The physical book is coming out January 16th. But I'm asking y'all, I appreciate, you all being a support. Those who are supporting, you all are a part of my launch team. You all are going to be there. I'm telling you. Like, um, okay. Yeah. So, yeah, I know you don't want the Kindle version, but that's what's coming out first. It's a reason why I'm asking to get the Kindle version first, because, once you get the Kindle version, do um, you can actually do the you can actually leave the reviews and stuff like that on Amazon. That's why I'm asking. So I appreciate that. Um, yeah. So Let me see who else. Yeah, Angel, you say yeah to give respect. You have to give respect. It's a two-way. And Angel, yeah, yo, man, I'm gonna be interviewing you soon, man. Don't forget, you got a powerful testimony. I've seen that brother, man. I'm talking about me and Angel go back years ago. Angel Crew, we go back. You, your sister Natalia, um, even to when it was sad, and I don't mean to get off subject, but I remember when this brother, like, we was going to school, middle school, and it was sad. And I hate to bring it up, Angel, but it was a time when his mother, him and my mom was best friends, was great friends. Miss Tweety, his mom's name is Tweety, and situation happened where his mother was murdered, and it was sad because my mom was saying, like, she would always say, you know, you got to be grateful and thankful, because anything like this can happen. So here it was, we lost he lost his mother, and then my mother actually went to buy actual his suit and things like that for the funeral. We were just kids seeing these things. And it was like, wow. But Angel, again, we're gonna talk more. We're gonna, my brother, sister kid, Dia Lucy, Benicione, all right, Feliz cumpleaños. Yeah, December 1st. Yeah, I'm gonna be dropping the link December 1st. Yeah, okay. I see you. Yeah, I'm gonna be autographing. Yeah, we're gonna figure that out. We're gonna get that done. We're gonna be doing that too. Yeah, true story, Andrew. Uh, so Q asked me what makes me a better friend now. See, so when we use that word friend, right? That friend is not an easy word, especially not with me. Because I'm not gonna lie, when you use that word friend with me, look, I done been turned on. I done been around some grimy cats, inside and outside. So to be a friend of mine like that, that is very serious to me. So if you throw that friend word around and stuff like that, like to me, in my and I hate to say it like this, but you got to prove yourself to me. And I don't have many friends. Like I'm just being honest. But I have friends, meaning good associates. I have people, but when you say a friend, because there's some friends that sit closer than a brother. So yeah, you're going to find people that's probably going to be closer than your own family. You know what I mean? So that's going to get deep because like I said, I speak about things about that. It's deep, but even when you look at, and I don't mean to get biblical with it, but when you look at the friendship of Jonathan and David, when you that right there, knowing that somebody was supposed to be king, right? That the lineage, that the family was supposed to be king, but he knew that it was another calling of somebody else's life. So he humbled himself and said, listen, I don't care if my father wants to kill you. I'm still going to honor you as the king that you're going to be. But long story short, everybody doesn't do that. You're always going to have that form of envy. You're going to have a lot. Because even like, all right, for instance, we have, like I say, my friends, your friends on Facebook or whatever the case may be. You may have people may scroll past your posts. A lot of people think friendship has to do with monetary value. A lot of the friendship don't have to do with monetary value. If I'm giving some good talks, if I'm promoting a book, share the post, share it to your stories, promote things. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't have to be like, oh, I have to give you money, I have to buy your stuff. No, because I understand we all got to pay bills. We got to do that. But the same way we support these celebrities that don't even know us, we support, oh yeah, these big time stars and stuff. But dang, why not support like, hey, look, that Kindle book, y'all's $1.99. Share that. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Even if you don't have it, okay, yo, can you send a book or could you ask somebody, could they donate a book? It's no problem. It's no problem with me. But my thing is, again, watching who we call our friends is very important. Because I see my mother had a lot of friends, right? I'm gonna say her best friend was Debbie Gardner. That was my mom's best friend. And still is to this day. I believe that's still my mom's friend. But my mom had many friends. She had many friends. A lot of people loved her. Her funeral was packed when she passed away. But the thing is, you know, it's tough because it's like, wow, the things that my mom did for a lot of people. I mean, I look at it like that. I don't know if people would have did the same for her. But again, I'm gonna touch on yeah, what's the other questions? Okay, Chill. Um, yeah, any other questions? I try to get y'all up here on the stream yard, but I couldn't for some reason. I try to get them up on here, but it's all right though. I can still see y'all on here. Miss Dietrich, I see you. Oh, okay, Jonathan, Jackie, that's my brother and sister. Okay, yeah, I see y'all. Yeah, that's brother and sister. I'm talking about same house, same. Y'all gonna see the crazy thing is y'all gonna know about both sides. A lot of people say, "Yo, how y'all know? How you know so many Spanish people? Do you know that my stepfather was Puerto Rican? You know he was Puerto Rican. When you see my tia Lucy, this my family that I grew up with kids. I'm talking about same house, eating off the same plate, same. You know this what I'm saying. So a lot of people they get the misconception of, oh, you know, only Puerto Rican people, oh, no, no. Oh, you need Puerto Rican women. Like you got to know the history first. But when you see the book, when the book comes out, when you see it, when you see the book, you gonna know the history of what's going on. You're gonna see pictures and everything. Like it's gonna be amazing. Um, but it said, yeah, Andrew, I see you. You said not everybody's your friend. That's absolutely true. My pop got on there. He said, be the best friend you can. The rest will follow. That's absolutely true. But at the same time, you just got to be cautious. You know what I'm saying? Because, again, the wheat and the tear grows with each other. I mean, we're not to decipher who's who, but you just got to be cautious. You still got to be cautious because the people you may think is right may not be right. They might be right for you. You know what I'm saying? But then we push people away that really be for you, but we looking for something different. You know what I mean? So yeah, absolutely. But like I said, I appreciate everybody, you know, tuning in. Y'all, you definitely appreciate the support. Again, you all are amazing. My Aunt Valerie's watching. Appreciate it. Lydiana and see y'all. Okay. Yeah, I appreciate it. Like I said, it's very powerful. Jen, I see you. Okay, Shakira, I appreciate it. Dana, yes, appreciate it. Y'all here. Ms. Dietrich, appreciate it. Yeah, it's like you said, sometimes we push people away because yeah, hey, I'm telling you. But like I said, y'all, it's gonna be some different things. Again, December 1st, I'm gonna be dropping that link in the bio. I'm gonna be broadcasting it everywhere. So y'all just gotta be prepared. Like I said, the book gonna be $1.99 on Kindle. You know what I'm saying? Then, we're gonna be elaborating. I'm gonna be going live almost every day. Any questions y'all have, any questions y'all want to elaborate, I'm telling you, it's gonna be some powerful things. And it's not an extremely long book. It's not gonna be a extreme long biography or anything, but it's gonna get right to the base. It's gonna get to trust. It's gonna get, it's gonna just tell you what I've been through. A lot of people gonna be able to relate to it, You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and how do I get the book? Well, yeah. So again, Kindle copy, the digital copy is coming out December 1st. That's 2 days from now. That's on Thursday. I'm gonna send the link. The link is gonna be you're gonna get the link. You're gonna know because I'm gonna be going live. It's gonna be in the story. It's gonna be on all platforms. So you're gonna know when to get it. You get the book. You can check it out. The digital version. I know a lot of people like the physical book. Yes, the physical book is going to come out January 16th. The reason why I did it that way is because I want you guys to leave some reviews on Amazon. So you're going to have more than enough time. You're going to have more than enough time, to leave a review. You know what I'm saying? That's like a 45-day window. The next thing you know, the physical book is going to be coming out. We probably going to do some book sign, however you want to do. I'll probably deliver it to your house if you want me to. That's how demanding and how serious I am. So the long story short, but no, for real though. On the real, you already know. Um, so yeah, so I won't keep y'all long. Look, I already been on here 30 minutes. I'm over my time. I was supposed to, like I said, be about 15 minutes, but I really do appreciate everybody. If y'all have any other questions, y'all just let me know. Again, the book is dropped. Get ready. December 1st is going down. Like I said, it's the beginning of a great, you know, not the beginning, but it's the continuation of a great beginning. You know what I mean? So looking forward to reading your book. Yes, Miss Dietrich's story I know will be the last will be the best sales. Yes, thank you so much. I appreciate your confidence in me. You know, that's why I'm coming. I'm coming aggressively. I'm coming like I come in that paint playing basketball. Yeah, Chuck. I see you watching, Chuck. You know what I'm saying? Chuck, one of the best referees. You know, yeah, I mean, but it's cool. But I'm coming. Don't call no walk. You know what I'm saying? When I'm coming through there like a big dog. You know, but uh yeah. I appreciate it, Dana. Thank you so much. You know, I appreciate it. But like I said, it's only by the grace of God. That's it. You know what I'm saying? I can't sit here and say, I did anything on my own. You know what I mean? But all I could do is just say, thank you. You know what I mean? So, yeah, absolutely, though. But but I understand that we can't be on here all night. You know what I mean? We got things to do. But I appreciate it. Yeah, thanks, Chuck. Yes, sir. I appreciate you, man. I'm proud of you too, man. Doing some good things. You out here, man. That's a blessing, man. That's a blessing in itself. But look, again, y'all, I'm not going to hold y'all too long. Um, I'm going to be, like I said, I'm going to be closing out now. Expect me to go live again probably tomorrow. Like I say, definitely Thursday. We're going to be getting it in. Like I said, with the book, y'all can ask y'all questions, however y'all feel, whatever the case may be. So the book, like I said, consists of pictures. Everything is in there. So y'all can check that out. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get ready to close out. But still feel free. If y'all watch the video again, feel free, drop comments. I'm going to try to respond to them. Um, excuse me. I'm gonna try to respond to them, and yeah. So again, like I said, hit me up. Get at me. Like I said, I've been busy with a lot of things go on. Run businesses and stuff like that. So again, we're gonna be talking. So all right, peace. Everybody have a good night. Be blessed. Thank you, launch team. Thank you guys for supporting me, and y'all have a good night. And we out of here, man. Throw something in the chat. Throw a thumbs up, some fire. I like the fire in the chat. That means, yeah, some fire information going on. You know, so all right, yeah. So I'll catch y'all later. All right. All right, thank y'all. All right, peace. All right.